When it's all said and done, this quote about Caitlin Clark by Chennedy Carter will go down as the single worst quote in the history of all sports. I don't know who the biggest hater of Caitlin Clark is at this point.
Have you heard about Caitlin Clark's insane rookie season? Well, not everyone's thrilled about it. Chennedy Carter completely lost it after Clark was named First Team All-WNBA and Rookie of the Year. But here's the real surprise. Clark's response to all the hate might be even more impressive than her stats.
She's going to face a level of racism from black players, and she's going to face a level of hostility from lesbian players because she's not on Team LGBTQ. She's a Catholic.
Let's break down what made Clark's rookie season so jaw-dropping. Can you believe she averaged 24 points and 8.5 assists per game since August? That's not just good, that's superstar level. And here's the kicker. She didn't just win Rookie of the Year, she won it unanimously. On top of that, she made First Team All-WNBA as a rookie, which is practically unheard of.
Could Caitlin Clark in Indiana taking on the Sun, right? The Sun, they are the favorites, but odds makers give the Fever the best shot of any underdog to pull off an upset in the first round, despite having only 19 games of combined playoff experience on their roster. So you're actually going to be on the call for this one, right, Ryan? That's Sunday on ABC. And in a year that Caitlin Clark, I mean, sky-high expectations, and somehow she still shattered them.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Clark didn't just put up big numbers. She changed the entire game for the Indiana Fever. They went from struggling to becoming playoff contenders. Now, you might be wondering, how did one rookie make such a massive impact? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. And trust me, this story is just getting started. Not everyone's thrilled about Clark's success, and one player's reaction might just shock you.
The WNBA has a problem with box office. They want to focus everyone's attention on box score because they don't like the person who's bringing the box office, who's actually bringing the crowd, selling tickets, driving television ratings. Caitlin Clark is box office. The WNBA has suffered from a lack of box office. Caitlin Clark is clearly the most valuable player in the history of the WNBA. She's clearly the best rookie the WNBA has ever seen.
You'd think Clark's teammates would be her biggest critics, right? Wrong. Surprisingly, her harshest judgment came from someone who's never even played with her. And that criticism? It backfired in the most spectacular way.
And then Chennedy just give you an opportunity to talk about that moment between you and Caitlin. What was that play, what was said, and kind of what led to?
Next question. Yeah, like Caitlin, it seemed like she turned to you a little bit. Yeah. I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions.
Chennedy Carter is the player who decided to take a swing at Clark's success. Carter didn't just question Clark's abilities. She went for the jugular, asking, besides three-point shooting, what does she bring to the table? Can you believe that? That's like asking what Michael Jordan brings to the game besides dunking.
And that's that on that, because besides three-point shooting, what does she bring to the table, man? Right? And a lot of people are talking about that might be the worst comment in sports history.
But here's where it gets wild. Carter's comment didn't just fall flat, it completely exploded in her face. Fans and analysts didn't hold back, labeling her a hater and even questioning her intelligence. It's like she took a shot at the buzzer and airballed it straight into the stands.
But I also think that, like Larry Bird, there was a reason why the Celtics had the whitest roster in the league playing alongside Larry Bird. And I'm not even saying that to be funny, because like when Bill Russell was the star of the Celtics, they had the blackest roster in the NBA at that time to fit Bill Russell's personality. But the clear fact is that she's going to, and this is something no one can talk about other than we'll talk about it here on this show. She's going to face a level of racism.
Now you might be thinking, okay, but maybe Carter had a point. Well, Clark's response on the court shut that down real quick. Remember that triple-double I mentioned earlier? Yeah, that happened right after Carter's comments. Clark didn't just prove Carter wrong, she made history doing it.
And she's going to face a level of hostility from lesbian players because she's not on Team LGBTQ. She's a Catholic. She's got some boyfriend. She's going to walk into an extremely hostile environment.
19 points, 13 assists, and 12 rebounds. That's not just impressive. That's first rookie in WNBA history to record a triple-double impressive. And Clark didn't stop there. She kept dishing out assists like they were going out of style, leading the league in dimes. Check. turning her team's season around. Double check.
As it relates to Caitlin Clark, who could come and make the WNBA far more relevant. I'm not going to say she's going to make them relevant, but she'll make them more relevant.
I get what you're saying. Clark isn't just turning her team's season around, she's making the entire WNBA more relevant. Before she stepped onto the scene, the league wasn't on many people's radar. But now, thanks to her, it's getting attention like never before. Clark is bringing a whole new spotlight to the WNBA.
She's going to face a level of hostility that's unprecedented. I mean, because again, people think men are bad. A group of women, you just sat and listened to Cheryl Swoops just stack lie on top of misinformation. And a group of black people basically mostly just nodded their heads as if she knew what she was talking about, because Gilbert Arenas knows virtually nothing.
But the real kicker? Clark's reaction to all of this. While Carter was busy throwing shade, Clark was focused on praising her teammates. After that historic triple-double, she didn't brag or clap back at Carter. Instead, she credited her teammates for her impressive assist numbers. That's not just good sportsmanship, that's true leadership.
Apparently, all the accolades that Caitlin Clark is receiving is because she's white, and the jealous players who are attacking her are really the real victims here.
So what can we learn from all this? For starters, maybe think twice before questioning a rising star's abilities. But more importantly, it shows us how true talent responds to criticism. Clark didn't need to say a word to prove Carter wrong. She let her game do the talking. That's the mark of a true champion.
These ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan.
It's been a good season.
They cannot have fucked this Caitlin Clark thing up any worse if they tried.
Clark let her game do the talking, but that was just the beginning. As the dust settled from their public spat, something unexpected happened. How did Clark's next move change everything we thought we knew about this budding WNBA rivalry?
This is about white people saying Caitlin is better because she's white. I get that. I appreciate that. But now I'm here to tell you in complete objectivity, obviously as a white guy, Caitlin Clark is becoming the best player in the entire WNBA, not because she's white, because she's that good. She's having Larry Bird impact.
You might think Clark would fire back at Carter with some trash talk of her own, right? Wrong. Clark's response was so unexpected that it left everyone stunned. She didn't say a word. Instead, she went out and absolutely dominated on the court.
WNBA's black superstars should thank their lucky stars. For the record ratings, Caitlin Clark is detonating, even if new fans are mostly white fans. It doesn't matter what color eyeballs are.
Remember that game against the Dallas Wings? Clark dropped 35 points like it was nothing. But here's the real kicker. She didn't just score. She was dishing out assists left and right, leading the league in that category. It's like she took Carter's words and turned them into rocket fuel for her game.
You know what I'm going to start calling Caitlin Clark? Kunta Kinte. Because you got a bunch of colonizers hopping on her back, hopping on her shoulders, riding her. Caitlin Clark is the slave that's building the WNBA, and all these black women are climbing all over top of her and piggybacking her to relevance and money. She's Kunta Kinte.
But Clark didn't stop there. She kept pushing and improving. Her coach, Christy Sides, knew exactly what she had in Clark. She said, Caitlin Clark needs to shoot a minimum of 15 shots a game for us. That's not just confidence, that's a game plan built around a rookie. Can you believe it?
I want to talk about this expansion deal. And again, I know you haven't watched no one's watched nearly as much WNBA basketball as I have this year. But this expansion, they're drunk on Caitlin Clark. Kunta Kinte has them drunk and thinking, hey, we can now expand. And that's I think the rosters are 12. They're going to add 36 more roster spots to the WNBA. This is a mistake. I watched the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is great. There's a few other players that are great, but there's a lot of bad players in the WNBA. And you start spreading this out.
And get this. While everyone else was buzzing about the drama, Clark was busy praising her teammates. After every big game and record-breaking performance, she would highlight how great her team was. That's not just good sportsmanship, that's true leadership.
Just look at the stimulus package Caitlin Clark is. Forget Donald Trump. She's already creating black jobs. Oh my God.
But here's the thing that really sets Clark apart. She didn't just prove Carter wrong, she changed the whole conversation. Suddenly, people weren't talking about what Clark couldn't do. They were focused on how she was changing the game. They talked about how she was bringing new fans to women's basketball and inspiring young players all over the country.
The difference, this is what you pointed out, and I think this is real, and it's the real difference between men and women at our core. The women will be very jealous, and that, I think, is going to be a monster problem. I hope they get over it for the winning. Guys like to win, even if they're not the star. Well, great, we'll get a championship. Well, everybody jump on Michael Jordan's back. Everybody jump on Larry Bird's back. I don't know if that'll happen with Caitlin Clark.
Now, you might be thinking Clark's already done it all. But what if her biggest impact isn't even happening on the court? There's a revolution brewing in women's basketball, and Clark might just be the spark that sets it all off.
Games that have maybe 2,000, 3,000 will suddenly have almost 10,000, at least the first time around, right? And these players in their own home arenas are going to see suddenly a big crowd for the opposing player. And get this, a lot of these people might have Caitlin Clark paraphernalia, her jersey, her shirts with the number on it. And TJ, to what you said, there's going to be this growing resentment because now people are going to write stories. Caitlin Clark, the great white hope, the savior of the WNBA.
Let's talk about the Clark effect. It's not just about points and assists anymore. Clark is turning the WNBA into must-see TV. Do you know how hard it is to get tickets to her games now? Prices are through the roof, and arenas are packed. We're talking over 20,000 fans showing up to watch her play. That's not just good for Clark, that's great for the entire league.
Or you're out in a public function and the team is out, and all these little girls who have no clue, if they don't really have a concept of race the way adults do, they're all going to race right past all these teammates that have been in the league for 7, 8 years that may have had more accomplished careers to get her autograph.
But it's not just about butts and seats. Clark is changing the way people see women's basketball. Remember when the WNBA struggled to get airtime? Now with Clark on the court, everyone wants a piece of the action. TV ratings are up, social media is buzzing, and suddenly the WNBA has everyone talking.
If you got people in a room, if you got a bunch of dudes in a room and says, let's fuck up the WNBA, we couldn't have came up a master plan what these women have done.
And get this, Clark's not just impressing fans. She's catching the attention of legends in the game. People are starting to compare her to greats like Diana Taurasi. You know what that means? We might be witnessing the birth of the next WNBA superstar right before our eyes.
This girl is incredible. What she did in college for women's basketball, what she's doing in the WNBA.
She turned the Fever, we're 1-8. They have a winning record now.
But the number of attention, eyeballs, she's brought to college and the pros, and for these women to have this petty jealousness.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Clark's impact goes way beyond her stats. She's setting a new standard for how athletes handle pressure and criticism. Remember the whole thing with Chennedy Carter? Clark didn't just brush it off, she used it as fuel. That's not just good basketball, that's a powerful lesson in mental toughness.
You say to yourself, damn, what is going on here? And
well, you got accused of that stuff too with the older players being resentful of the new generation. It's kind of part of the basketball process. Everybody thinks their generation's the best.
No. Anytime we say something about guys, it ain't the old get off my lawn guy.
Yeah.
But the stuff toward her is petty and jealous.
And you want to know the craziest part? Clark's doing all this as a rookie. Can you imagine what she'll be like with a few years under her belt? She's not just changing the game, she's transforming the entire culture of women's basketball.
And the thing I love about her, she never says a word. And now, when I watch her, two things I like. She's playing much faster.
Yeah.
Much faster. She was playing too slow the first half of the season.
I think she was tired. I think she was banged up from the college season.
They didn't even give her the understanding, like, you girls been ready for the WNBA season. Y'all been working out on the no. She came straight out of college and had to go right to the WNBA like 2 weeks later.
But let's zoom out for a second. The Clark Carter situation isn't just about two players. It's a mirror reflecting some big issues in pro sports. How do you handle criticism? How do you stay focused when everyone's watching your every move? Clark is showing us all how it's done.
No one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA.
Do you know what really sets Clark apart? It's not just her skills on the court, it's how she carries herself off it. While others are caught up in the drama, Clark is all about the game and her team. That's the kind of leadership that changes locker rooms, transforms teams, and yes, even changes entire leagues.
When I watched her play the last month, I think she's learning to play much faster because I think she's learning to trust those girls more. Because, when she's in college, she's not passing to a bunch of great players. Now you can see when she plays, she's playing a lot without the ball. She reminds me a lot of Jason Kidd.
Do you know what's really wild about Caitlin Clark's rookie season? It's not just about her insane stats, it's about how she handles the pressure. Remember the Chennedy Carter drama? Clark didn't lose her cool. She let her game do the talking.
This is a phenomenon. Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon. And if I said to any of these people who think Caitlin Clark is not the Rookie of the Year, I'd say, who would you want to start your franchise with? Now, I'm not going to put Asia Wilson in there. I'm just saying between these two. Angel Reese is a wonderful player, but she does not compare to what and who Caitlin Clark is when she's on the basketball floor. Plain and simple.
Clark's coach describes her as the most competitive player she's ever encountered. It's not just about talent. It's about relentless drive, and that's paying off in a big way. But the real game changer? Clark isn't just transforming the sport on the court. She's also demonstrating how to handle criticism like a true professional.
But these ladies, who I love and respect their game, they couldn't have fucked this thing up any worse. Because we have talked, and talk about Asia. Asia Wills the best woman player in the world right now. She's incredible. Connecticut Sun's having a great year. The Minnesota Lynx is having a great year. But there's been so much negativity, and a lot of it is just petty jealousness.
So here's a question for you. How will you handle your next Chennedy Carter moment? Will you let it get to you, or will you use it as fuel, just like Clark did? That's the real lesson here. It's not about the haters. It's about how you respond to them. And if you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share for more insights.